Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMordie, and I'm still a medical doctor, simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. My guest this week is Dr. Kate Gerster. Kate is a OB-GYN and also a singer and musical theater actor. She and I met, I kid you not, we met like -1 day of medical school. We met on our med school interview day for McMaster. And I remember sitting in this big auditorium and this woman sits next to me and we start chatting because we didn't really know anyone. She's telling me how she did a science degree as well as a music degree. She's an opera singer. I was like, what? Who is this person? I want to be her friend so bad. Wouldn't it be amazing if we both got into McMaster day 1 of med school? We see each other go, oh my God. And we've been friends ever since. And we're talking now like, oh my gosh, we're at like 15 years. Oh, 15 years of friendship. She is my like Stratford Festival Theater friend. We go every year and spend a weekend together seeing plays at Stratford. She is just an incredible human being, and I just absolutely love her. Like I said, she's an OB-GYN in Peterborough, but also takes part in a choir in Peterborough and many community theater productions. Please enjoy Dr. Kate Gerster. Story. Who are you? I know who you are, but tell the world, because I freaking love you.
My name is Kate. We met in medical school at McMaster, what feels like an eternity ago. I was just thinking the other day, I remember feeling like I was such a grown-up and at that time, and then I look back and I'm like, oh, we were such babies. We met in medical school. I went into obstetrics and gynecology after med school. And after finishing my training, I landed in Peterborough, Ontario, which is where I am now. It's been a really good fit. 6 years later, here we are. That's my career journey. Before I went to med school, I studied music and science at Western. And I had a brief moment, like sort of in high school or in undergrad, when I flirted with the idea of like trying to make it as an opera singer, a thing I absolutely would not have been successful at, to be clear, nor I think do I have the temperament to like make my career in the performing arts. But I always really loved music. And I always did kind of, theater growing up and dance and then I went to med school and there was no time for anything other than med school and residency training, a feeling I think you're familiar with. And then I moved to Peterborough, and there's an amazing community theater scene in Peterborough. And I bought tickets to a production of Spamalot, maybe a few months after moving here. And it was lovely. It was lots of fun. It was lovely in that community theater way, where some people are amazing. You're like, you could be on Broadway. And then there's other people where you're like, I love the real people aspect of community theater. It's not polished, within an inch of its life the way a professional show is. You're like, I can see the people having fun behind the show. And I remember thinking like, I could do that. Like I have a singing voice that is adequate to sing with these people, but I would never had the time for it. And I worked and I have small children and life did not stop being busy. But I just got to a point where I was like, I have to. I need something in my life that is not work, that is not parenting or being a partner, that is just fun and just for me. And I will have to find some way to make that work because I need it. And so I've auditioned for a number of shows. I'm lucky that Peterborough really has a great and very active community theater scene. It's also got a great music scene. So I've been singing in a choir on and off for a while. It kind of started with that. It's like, once a week, that'll be okay. 3 times a week rehearsals, not so much. And I've done two shows now with the community theater groups in Peterborough. I sang and danced in the chorus of a production of Something Rotten a couple years ago. And then last year I played Phoebe Dysquith in our production of A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. And so that's been really, really fun. And I've met some amazing, like truly kind of new lifelong friends in the theater community.
I love it so much. I love it so much. When you were growing up, were you a really creative person growing up as a kid?
I I think yes, but I didn't think so at the time.
Mm.
I remember vividly like hating visual art. Like anytime in class they'd be like, "You're gonna draw, like we're gonna do a comic strip." I'm like, oh fuck this again. Am I allowed to swear?
Yes, fuck yeah.
Okay. And I don't think that I thought of myself as a creative person, largely because of that, and because I didn't really think of myself as a singer at the time. Like I have an aunt and I have a cousin who both are singers, and so in my head, like, Jamie and Mandy are the singers in our family. But looking back, I'm like, yeah, I was. Like I danced a lot. I liked to make up my own dances. I definitely sang. I wrote a ton of very shitty plays. Then strong-armed my sisters into performing them with me at our cottage. I had a dream of being a writer for a while. There's a lot of bad, novels and short stories, probably like in a folder at my parents' house somewhere because they always save the most embarrassing stuff. So yeah, I didn't think of it at the time, but looking back, I would say yes.
And like the blend of music and science that you did at Western, was that intentional? Like, what was the goal always medicine, or why that blend of the two?
The goal was definitely medicine, and then I just sort of found myself as a singer, maybe. That's a really cheesy way to put it, in high school. And I was like, I want to keep doing this. I really, really like this. And so when I was applying to undergrad, I applied to a whole bunch of science programs and I threw in an application to the voice performance program at Western as well. Like, just why the hell not? And I went and I did my audition and I was not offered a place in the vocal performance program at Western. But they do actually. A lot of schools with music programs will allow people in other programs to audition to take lessons in the faculty of music. And most of the time, you don't really do lessons unless you are like a Bachelor of Music student or kind of the faculty is your home faculty. Mostly, like if you're taking a music class, it's like a theory class or a music history class. Like those sorts of classes are open to everybody. But you can audition and also pay extra money over your tuition to take lessons and within the faculty and have that be one of your courses. And so that's what I did. And I took voice lessons for the 3 years that I was at Western with one of the profs in the faculty of music.
I have a vivid memory of meeting you in our interview and like med school interview. And I remember you telling me your story and me being like, God damn, I really hope she gets into med. I hope we both get into McMaster because I want to be your friend. And then when we both did, I was like, yay. Because I was like, I
And
remember
so we
you
were.
talking about music and being like, this is so cool. And then something you said earlier that I always think about is the idea that the people who get into med school and honestly any professional school, right? They want like these well-rounded individuals who have gone to Africa, who've won Grammys, who do music degrees, who are like kind of interesting people with all these wonderful special skills from all over the place. And then we get into med school and they're like, and now we're going to take all those away. And you're not going to be able to do any of that. And we're going to streamline focus you because you have to be to learn medicine. And it's like, so they've taken these beautiful, well-rounded humans, well, what we thought we were adults, like you were saying, and then gone, nope, you have to tunnel vision, channel focus this to the detriment of all your creative things that you love to do prior to coming into medical school. Have fun.
Yeah. I mean, like, yes and no, because if you remember We did a musical in first year of
I was
med
hoping
school,
it was gonna bring this up. I was like, a couple of years.
and it was just such a niche, nerdy show. Like, we wrote it ourselves. We did not write the music, but wrote parody lyrics to a variety of songs from music theater, from Disney, like pop songs, um, and put it on in the theater in Brock University.
Yeah.
Like, who
Yeah.
wants to come and see this deeply weird and nerdy show?
Oh, shuttle bus,
It was
right?
so much fun.
It was great.
I
Yeah.
still, until recently, I still listed that. What, like, when I would audition for stuff in Peterborough, they'd be like, "What's your theater experience?" I'm like, "Well, I played Angramenu in Babylon MD, the McMaster University School of Medicine musical in what, 2011?"
It's interesting, right? We had a very, and I'm sure every med school class is like this. Of course, we're going to be a bit biased. Like we had a very creative medical school class. Like I look back and I have the photo of our med school class like here and behind my computer screen right now. And look at it and I'm like, look, these people were fascinating human beings to be involved with for 3 years. And then I wonder if it happens to everyone, right? Not just medical students. Like you get into the almost humdrum life of being a working adult. And like you were saying, a lot of times parenting comes along, being a partner comes along, and you kind of have to push that kind of whimsy aside a little bit.
It feels really
Um,
selfish, right? To be like,
yes.
I'm gonna pay a babysitter so that I can go like goof around with my friends on stage.
Yeah. Yeah. What helps you with that feeling? Because we know it's not, right? Like having your children and partner and just the world witness you doing something like this is incredibly powerful. How do you kind of get over that feeling, or how did you kind of recognize that you needed to do this?
I don't know that I'd say that I'm over that feeling. The most helpful thing I ever read about mom guilt was from a psychiatrist who now does a ton of work around like boundaries and self care. And Pooja Lakshman, her book Real Self Care is fantastic. Highly recommend.
Yes.
And she basically wrote a thing where she was like, "It's not going to go away. Like it's always going to be there, and the more you can just embrace that mindfulness practice of sort of, I see it, I acknowledge it. I'm not putting energy into trying to shove it away, but nor am I feeding it to grow."
Hmm.
And my sister, my one of my sisters has a 2-year-old, so her son is younger than mine. She came to motherhood after me, and she was talking about the mom guilt. I was like, "Oh, Jane, it's like Jesus's footprints in the sand, like that story. It was always there." um, so I think honestly, part of it has been acknowledging like it's just there. It's not going to go away. It has not stopped hurting to peel a crying child off of me and be like, "I am going to rehearsal. I love you very much. I will see you tomorrow." I'm lucky that I have a lot of people in my life that are really encouraging. I mean, my mom, who raised 4 children, tells me every time I talk about it, she's like, "It is good for your kids to see you being a whole person and prioritizing yourself. It is good for kids to not have everything handed to them and not have every bump in the road smooth for them. Like, it
Mm.
doesn't make it less hard right now, but you are not doing them a disservice. You are actually doing them a favor."
Mm.
And I'm a better mom when I'm there if I have time when I'm not there.
Do you find also that your work in musical theater, your work in choirs and stuff like that, has it impacted your job as a physician? Has it changed the way you look at your medical life?
I mean, everyone at my work is really supportive and excited anytime I'm like, "I'm doing a thing, I'm in a show." They're like, "Where can we buy tickets?" So it's kind of a nice thing to talk about and to connect with people about at work. I don't know if it's changed like the way I practice. I think it's been helpful in terms of giving me another motivating factor for setting boundaries. Like medicine is just a job that can suck everything out of you if you let it. Um, and so being able to say, hey, I have to set these boundaries, not just for my sanity at work, not just for my kids, not just for my partner, but also because I've made this commitment to this theater group or this choir. I think much like, parenting, I'm better at my work if I don't do my work to the exclusion of everything else.
Yeah, that's powerful. I know I get a lot of like fellow healthcare workers, like again, like you were saying, like very excited to hear, like, especially when I'm in the OR and they're like, oh my God, Dr. McMordie, what are you doing there? Where can I see you? Blah, blah. And then I also get, I don't know if you've ever gotten this, but I've gotten, like, I wish I could do something like that. Like that's I could never. I could never do something like that.
You totally could.
I totally could. Yeah. So do you have any advice for anyone?
For me, it always comes up in the context of singing, right? And I rant about this all the time because I think sometimes there's this perception that like, another musical instrument you could learn to play. Like acting, you could take a class, but there's this idea that like singing, you're born with the voice or you're not. And that's bullshit. Singing is a skill like anything else. Yes, there's some genetic talent. I'm not saying anyone who wants to can be a Grammy winner or can, be a Broadway star, but anybody can learn to sing. And so I tell people that, and mostly they kind of blow it off, right? But like, if you want to do it, you can. You may have to put some work into it, but it's there, and the work is enjoyable if it's something that you love. Like one of my really good friends, Vera, who works in healthcare as well, on the admin side, she was in the chorus of Gentleman's Guide, which is my last show. And she came to it like not really any vocal experience, didn't know how to read music, had never been in a show before, just kind of enjoyed it, and thought like, I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to throw myself out there, which I love and I have such respect for. And then since then, like she's taking a sight singing class, she's joined a choir, she's joined an improv group. Like these are fun things, but she's also really putting some effort into building the skill. And I really think anyone can.
I had a conversation with another doctor actor, and we were kind of having a bit of a discussion. I'm not going to say disagreement because it was a fun conversation. Because I love being like, do you see any similarities between healthcare and creative arts? And she was like, the more I'm in the acting field, the less I see any similarities at all.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because in healthcare, she was thinking, and I don't know if she works in the American healthcare system. I don't know if there's a big difference, but she's like, I saw my job in healthcare as being a one-way informational valve, like to the patient, to the nurse, right? And then that completely crushes any creativity that I can have, but also the person I'm sitting across from can have. So she's like, I see zero crossover. Do you see any crossover?
I do. I would disagree with that. I don't see my job as being a one-way informational valve. I think that's part of it. But a big part of my job is forming enough of a connection that, well, I can know which informational valve to open and kind of what matters to someone and know how best to share information and work in partnership with them to make a decision. And I think there's some overlap between that sort of process of connection and communication. Like you are building a relationship. You are building a relationship when you are in clinic talking to somebody about their menstrual problems. I'm a gynecologist. You are building a relationship with your fellow actors when you're on stage and with the audience. And it's a different kind of relationship. But I think that connection piece is the through line.
Yeah. Did you find it tricky to, because I know in medicine we have to really be cautious with the amount of, I want to say like emotion that we kind of give out, just because I know we can burn out. I don't know, me personally, if I get too emotionally invested in anything in this world, it's not good for my mental health. But the problem is with something like acting, you need to kind of go full in with the emotions. Do you find it tricky to find that balance on stage in clinic?
I mean, on stage and for context, like I very much was a musician and a singer first, and then kind of got into acting. So I wouldn't like how best to put this. Um, for me, the learning curve has been putting more and like being bigger on stage. I'm not yet at a place with acting where I'm like, oh, I have to hold that back. I'm forever like, I gotta give more, and then the director can pull me back or redirect me if they don't like what I'm doing. But the first bunch of auditions I did in Peterborough, I was just so uncertain around sort of how to present myself as an actor that it just came off really wooden and really flat, and so I really had to work on being able to jump in and go big, even in like the short sort of context of an audition and new people that I don't know. Um, so that the sort of boundaries with my acting is not a big problem for me yet. It's the other side of things. I definitely think boundaries in healthcare are important. I I don't know. I mean, I also don't want to lose the connection of I don't want to lose feeling the hard stuff
Mm.
in context of my job as a doctor. I I think I'm better as a doctor if I have that connection with people. I think if I couldn't go in and, cry with someone when they lose their baby, that I wouldn't be doing them justice in a
Mm.
sense. And obviously it's a spectrum, right? There's a big middle ground between like I am an emotionless robot who is delivering information and sort of, I've wept with the patient all day and now I can't function to do the rest of my work.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got to find a sweet spot in the middle. But honestly, for me, when I find myself just feeling like annoyance or feeling nothing rather than feeling understanding and sadness when people are dealing with hard things, like that to me is a sign like, yeah, I gotta take a break. It's
Mm.
time for vacation. It's time to switch gears. Um,
Did you find did that just come naturally with time? That recognition of like self I was gonna say like self-preservation in this, but like preservation of your humanity, like learning how to do that. Did that come with time? Were you always that way? Was it teachable? Is it teachable?
um, I think it came a lot with mentorship
Mm.
from colleagues, who've been doing this longer than I have. Um, it definitely did not magically appear. I think again, like the boundaries piece with medicine, it'll suck every bit of life out of you if you let it. I think I did have to go through a bit of like, saying yes to too many things and being there and above and beyond too much, and then swing to this other end of the spectrum where I was kind of saying no and cold and withdrawn, and it took experiencing both ends of things to start to be able to recognize the happy medium.
Mm.
And I really like have, colleagues and friends and mentors who were kind enough to kind of sit me down and say things like, you need some breaks and some distance in order to be able to bring the right emotional energy for this job.
Mm. Yeah, that's powerful stuff. Yeah, that's really neat. It's interesting to see, I think, as well too, as the medical world changes, as we have to change with it, we get to change with it, I should say, be more optimistic about it. There definitely, I know I felt it, I don't know if you have too, like even since we graduated, like which is now, God, over a decade, oh my Lord. But like I think there's been such a big shift. And I know I loved the education that we got. We went to Hippy Dippy McMaster. And when I talked to people who were educated in other more traditional medical schools where, I mean, for sure this does exist where we trained, but like there was more of an atmosphere of demeaning to get results, condescension to get results, like kind of that, well, shame-based learning, as we kept hearing about. And I think there's been a huge shift, and I'm hoping it's in a positive direction, because we know healthcare workers are dropping like flies from burnout. And so whatever we were doing was not good enough. And I think it's really cool that there were mentors for you to be like, no, you need to take a break, as opposed to back in my day, we don't take breaks.
Right? Yeah. I think the culture is definitely changing for the better. And we're really building a group in Peterborough and in our department of people that do not want to work like that. Don't want to work 100 hours a week every week, and want to have other things going on, and want to work with people who respect that, right? It would be so much harder for me to say, hey, I'm going to take some time off, or I'm going to need to reshuffle my schedule a little bit so I can go to all of the rehearsals for this show, if I weren't in a group where people were already saying like, hey, I really need to not be on call on this day because that's when I coach my kids' soccer team, or hey, on Wednesdays in the summer I like to golf, so can I not be scheduled on Wednesdays? And having a group that is like, yeah, obviously we can do our best to do that, because those things matter.
I love that. That's so great. Do you have any favorite moments from your times on stage? Funny stories, favorite times?
So this was technically not on stage, this was just backstage, but when I did Gentleman's Guide, which truly was one of those shows we closed and we were like, we will not, like, this might be the pinnacle of theater for life for all of us. Like, just such a great show, such a wonderful group of people. I think everyone bawled the next day when we were cleaning up the set. So I have a quick change in Act 2, and I'm sort of wearing like 3 costumes, one on top of the other, so that I can kind of be whipping things off. And then at one point I basically stripped down to just my underwear, like right backstage. And there's 2 of the ensemble members who are just like, we'll be your helpers, like dive into this wedding dress, turn around, I'll put this on, someone's doing you back up. And it's just, and nobody, obviously that's not on stage, no one is seeing that from the audience. But it just speaks to like the camaraderie and the closeness and the joy that everyone was having working together. We're like, throw me in, what can I do? We're a team. We're like laughing, about the snags in the process, and and the comfort of just being like, yep, these are my boobs. Like, I'm full topless backstage because I couldn't wear a bra with this costume. We're like, hey, okay, let's roll, let's go.
I think honestly, the 2 professions where we're like, bodies don't care. Medicine, especially gynecology and obstetrics, and then acting. You gotta do it. Let's go. No one cares.
Love with you, and you can just sort of laugh together, and like, that's fabulous.
I love that.
Makes all the difference.
Totally. Do you have anything you are looking forward to coming up? Anything you're working on?
So a few of my friends, again from Gentleman's Guide, and I have been mulling over the idea of starting our own theater company. There's a great scene in Peterborough. There's a real commitment to kind of big shows to include lots of people, and family-friendly shows and kind of children's choruses and that sort of thing, and that is lovely. And also sometimes we're like, what about a small little intimate show? What about something a bit more adult that you would not wish to have a child in the chorus or maybe even in the audience? And so we've been tossing that around, and then sort of the like getting enough money to rent space and buy rights to shows is the first big hurdle. So it's very early stages right now, but I'm excited about that, and I think it's going to be. I think we're going to be doing some shows in sort of a year or two, and that'll be really, really fun and wonderful.
That is so cool. I love that.
Me too.
I'm just gonna toot your horn a little wee bit, just because you're like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I have an imposter syndrome, and I'm like, and then you go, oh, by the way, I'm going to start my own theater company.
Personally,
well, you're involved in starting a theater company. That is just Fuck yeah. That's so cool. Do you have a name for said theater company?
It's Peterborough.
I was it's just brilliant.
It
I
makes
was
it
like,
fun.
so good. So good. I am very excited, looking forward to you and I have an annual Stratford Festival weekend,
Yes.
date weekend. I'm so excited. You're like my theater person. I'm very, very stoked. And everyone like that I talk to here in Toronto in like my theater crew gets such a kick out of it. I'm like, yeah, my friend Kate, we like hang out like once, maybe twice a year, and we get together and go to Stratford where it's like no time has ever passed. It's the best.
Pick right up where we left off.
Exactly. Oh, do you have any final words of wisdom or advice?
Um, I think just do the thing, right? Do the thing that you're mulling over, that you're not quite sure about, but that you think could be really fun. Um, I wish I hadn't waited so long to kind of go like, can I make this work? Is this doable? Can I ask this of my colleagues and my partner and my kids? Am I good enough? Will people laugh to see me in the audition room? Like, just do it. Just go for it. Um, Community theater is so, like, my experience is that it's so welcoming, and there is such a commitment to sort of anyone can come, and it's okay if you don't read music, and it's okay if you don't have that formal training, and it's okay if you're just coming out to have fun and be silly. And for me at least, the kind of like, I don't know anybody, I don't have those connections here. Um, what's going to happen if I can't come to a rehearsal because something crops up with my work or with my kids? Held me back for a while. And once I was like, I'm just going to do it, we'll figure it out, full flying by the seat of my pants. It was so much fun. And I wish I hadn't waited so long.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, Dr. Kate, for being my guest this week. I love you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat with me and chat with my guests. I love you so freaking much. There, I'll repeat it again. If you're in the Peterborough area, there are so many incredible community theaters you can get involved in. So many incredibly artistic human beings. You just have to find them, seek them out, and Kate is one of them. I hope you all will tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye!